6:24 to order. See here, Billy. Thanks for this.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
Father, we are thankful for this country, the state, for the city. As we get ready to celebrate July the 4th, Father, we pray and just continue to bless this country and just as we celebrate, we pray for the staff, the police, the fire department, as they continue to watch, make sure that everybody be safe during July the 4th weekend. And thank you for just the ability to, an honor to be able to celebrate the birth of this country. Father, we thank you for the staff here that works tirelessly. They do a lot of stuff. Seems like everything from the alderman meeting to everything, it seems like they're just working around the clock. We just thank you. And thank you for all the things that we do here. Our prayers we come together to meet regarding the CID. Pray for the wisdom, pray for direction. I pray that the things that we do be reflected what you want us to do. Thank you for the guidance. And again, as you be with us as we meet. I pray all this in your wonderful name. Amen.
Thank you, Billy. Thanks, Billy. Paul, can you do a roll call?
Sure. Billy is present. Brian. Is Brian there?
No.
Larry?
Yes.
Is that down at the end there? Mike, Patrick?
Here.
Chuck is present. Kathy?
Here.
Kathy and Alex.
Here.
He's right there.
Okay, next item, approval of minutes of the May 29th, 2024 meeting. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes if everybody's had a chance to review.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, first, second. First by Billy, second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor, by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item is the street light design follow-up on the load bearing. Jeremy?
Yes, hi, everybody.
Jeremy,
Good to
how
be
are you?
here. I'm good. I'm really good. Paul, I do have a little bit of a presentation. If you can make me the host for a moment, that would be wonderful.
There you go.
Awesome. Share my screen. Good. Hope you guys are doing great today. It's a little bit cooler, which is nice. So just want to talk to you a little bit today about the street lights, but I also have one other item that I'd like to present today. So I'll make this as efficient as I can. So in this slide, you may recall that we talked about the street light pole and the pole arm and the fixture, and I added in here the Christmas decoration, the largest Christmas decoration that has been used in the city so far, and that's the Christmas decoration that we used for the evaluation for our street light. And I can tell you that for the capacity, I've put just a little bit of the information here, but the decoration configuration that was considered, we're at 0.77 of our capacity with the Christmas decoration on there. That means that we still have about 23% additional structural capacity left on the pole when the Christmas decoration is on the pole. And so the caveat here, and I do have a letter report that will be a part of the file on this. And so what I'd like to say, though, is that if the Christmas decoration was on there and other things were going to be added to the pole, we only have 23% additional capacity at that point. It would sort of depend on what we were putting on the pole and specifically what the, you know, what the specification was for which whatever item was considered. On the other hand, if the Christmas decoration is not on the pole, we have quite a lot of capacity as the Christmas decoration is quite large and takes up a lot of the structural capacity of the pole whenever it's added to the pole itself. So we have plenty of capacity. Still can, you know, can put some additional things on, you know, on that pole, which is not a bad deal. I think that was what I was asked to do. So are there any questions about that before I go on?
Mary, could you go back to the previous screen, please?
Of course.
I just wanted to see the decoration.
You can see the scale of that Christmas decoration. And I think, you know, I think that Anne was having a look at what might be appropriate, you know, for the light and the light pole, you know, on West 76. We simply had the information available for this particular decoration, and it was quite large and is placed on an armed light in the downtown area. So it was a good go by for us.
What's the height of the poles downtown? Currently, this decorations are on.
Well, there's 4 large poles at the intersection of Commercial and Main. That's the one you're seeing there.
Okay.
And then all of the other smaller streetlights are a much smaller decoration and a much smaller
Okay.
pole. If I'm remembering right, it's 30 feet tall. Jeremy, does that sound right?
Yes, ma'am, it's 30 feet
Yeah.
tall, and that is the height
Same
of
as
the
what you'll
pole.
I guess the question I do is, with this, the height of this pole, is this scope, is that gonna look small?
Well, the one you're showing there is a 30-foot pole downtown, and that will be about the same as the ones on 76. You do run
Correct.
into a little bit different scale issue because the buildings are all close and it's a much more confined space in historic downtown than it is on massive 76. So we'll have to consider that when you guys pick which design you'd like for 76.
Thank you.
Is 0.77, is that just the weight, is that including the wind load?
Yes, that's everything. Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
Well, with the weighted wind load of this design, which leaves 23% more. So other designs that we may come up with for other seasons, I feel comfortable that what we currently have will accommodate all of our needs.
yeah, I'm guessing that Christmas decoration is probably the heaviest, because of banners and all the stuff, it's not.
Unless we load them with pumpkins. Never know.
All right, make a note of it.
Pumpkins, got it.
Exactly.
Is there
Awesome.
any other questions, comments regarding this one? No? Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so I also want to talk a little bit about the guardrail and parking lot barrier fence. And so what's on the screen right now, we are recommending a welded wire mesh panel system. And then we have opportunities to use custom laser cut panels in some areas that would not only be or could be inserted in if you would choose, and those designs can vary greatly. I've put a few examples on the slide here. But I have a few of the locations. I thought it might be helpful in this discussion to look at where those things might be placed within our corridor. So we have a retaining wall here. This is Shepherd of the Hills, of course. We've got a retaining wall here, and we will have to have guardrail on top of that retaining wall. We do have barrier fence on the other side, and barrier fence is placed in areas where, like at the Hampton Inn, where the right of way is right at the edge, the parking lot is right at the edge of the right of way. And we need a barrier fence to, to define that edge. And so we have some places where we're putting barrier fence, these locations. And then we have a little bit of a retained feature in this location, so there's guardrail. As we move down the corridor, you can see we have less necessity for either, but there are a couple more areas. One is right here near Pat Nash. And then finally, in this last image, you can see we've got a couple of areas where we have barrier fence, where we're again separating the right of way from a use area where people might tend to wander out and be unsafe. So I'm going to go all the way back to this slide. And what I'm asking you for today is to give us a nod in this direction. Our recommendation again for guardrail is the welded wire mesh panels. We don't have a lot of it, but we'd really like to do something that's a little nicer, this being that. And we have opportunity to include some custom laser cut panels. I might make the recommendation that you have a really beautiful group of people that were advising you. And I think this might be a great opportunity to re-engage with that group of people and perhaps even make a determination about what kind of a custom laser cut panel you might like to have. In any case, it's important for us to know that we would include some custom panels potentially in this streetscape.
Is this something new?
Yeah, I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, but is this something new is it a requirement or something that's new with this?
If elevation changes, it would.
Jeremy, he was asking what specific code makes you do this, so anything over X amount of feet of drop off.
You bet. Anytime we're over 3 or 4 feet, we have to have a guardrail to keep people from falling. We've got a retaining wall in this location that requires guardrail. Guardrail is keeps us from falling. Where we have the areas where we have barrier fence called out. Those are areas where the right-of-way line, where the parking from someone's property sits right up against the right-of-way line, which would potentially be right up against our sidewalk, for example. And we don't want people to wander into an unsafe condition. And so we've got some sections of barrier fence. That's when we occur. That's the difference between those two things.
So the guardrail, I understand the barrier fence is not necessarily required, then it's just to make it a safer.
Yeah, she's using it kind of interchangeably.
Because we didn't have any in segment 3.
Yep.
And I can think of 1 or 2 spots where we had a fairly decent drop off that we didn't have any guardrail or barrier fence in segment 3.
We do have to be careful about this portion of the discussion because this wasn't noticed and pursuant to the Sunshine Law. You've got to be careful about doing business regarding something that wasn't on the agenda.
Okay.
Guess we'll put it on the July agenda then.
We can definitely put it on the July agenda. That's fine. That's fine with me as well.
When we do that, Jeremy, could you provide, on that screen, could you provide maybe some, even if they're estimated cost differences? It's like aesthetically, the one on the bottom right, if we had a City of Branson logo, music notes or something.
Sure.
But there again, I don't know what kind of expense this is and where this fits within our budget.
And that's where my thought process came up with segment 3 that we hadn't done it. So,
Okay, so maybe
So
we'll put this on next month.
yeah, put it on July.
That's a real common, couldn't get pricing on this stuff.
So I would remind you all that within the schedule that we have proposed, we have a probable cost that we'll be presenting to you in August. And that probable cost will accompany the 90% completed plans. And, you know, we are still working within the budget broadly. And so while I can certainly accommodate questions about, you know, about costs generally or what have you, that's really the time to have any of those kind of specific discussions, honestly.
So what is the objective today? Are we picking out one versus the other without
No,
pricing?
no.
No,
Yeah.
apparently you're not.
The objective today was just the,
Okay.
a load on the light.
Yes.
poles. So we got verification on that, and then this was something that was added on the back end.
So it's not a change.
It's not on the agenda at all. So.
It looks good.
Yeah. So we'll push that to the July meeting.
Okay, very good.
Do you have anything else behind this slides that you want
No,
to make sure we
just-
get in July?
Just thank you. I can go to thank you. There we go. Ready? Boom.
Perfect.
There it is. As is always the case, I love to be able to, you know, to show you the bits and pieces. We don't have many bits and pieces, to be honest. We are in deep production at this time, and really buttoning up all the technical things. So, you know, so I'm anticipating big things in the coming months here.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Oops.
Is there any questions or
Yeah.
anything else that needs to be discussed on the lighting design? I don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable. Is everybody else pretty comfortable with what was presented? Yeah. Okay, all right. Let's move on to CID financials.
Okay. These financials. And so that way, that way. Yes. Okay, so the good news is we have made financials. So I'm sorry for the delay that I couldn't get them out earlier. We have a new accounting system that we're still trying to learn, so. Fun times to get it. Okay, what the already has done. Okay, so this is for the end of May of 2024. We have a 3-year comparison, 22, 23, and 24, and this is a year-to-date comparison. If you look at the blue line, 2024, our revenue year-to-date at the end of May, we have $2,033,780. And that's almost $144,000 increase from last year at this time. Expenses, if you follow the blue line and you look at the 2024 expenses today, we have $6,573,538 rounded. Majority of that is a big payout that we did at the beginning of the year of the $6,274,074. So actually, if you take that payment out, your year-to-date expenses would be $288,458. So revenue's going up compared to last year, expenses have gone down, so it's looking good so far for this year. If you go to the next page. This one kind of will show us compared to budget. You have like the third column in the middle is the year-to-date, so that will tie to the first page. The next one right to the one right beside it, the MTD, that's our month column, if you want to look at the activity for the month. So for May, like we have revenue of approximately 372,000, and then the expenses are below. The biggest thing is, you know, we started the year with a fund balance of $14,068,787. With the reduction of income of $4,539,757, we currently have a fund balance of $9,529,030. So looking good. The next one is the balance sheet. The important things in this is the cash and bank. So we currently, as the end of May, had almost $8.5 million in the bank, a little over $1 million in receivables, giving us total assets of $9,539,715. So looking strong there as well. And then the next page is our lovely sales tax collection. And I like to look at the year-to-date numbers. So if you'll go down to the year-to-date column, for June. So this is sales tax that would have been, most of the activity would have happened in May. They would have filed it with the state of Missouri in, April is when the sales would have been, filed it with the state of Missouri in May, and we actually received these funds in June. So, if you look for year to date, the sales tax total collected is $2,313,701, which is a 4.5% increase over prior year, which we know the prior years were amazingly high. So we're still seeing an increase year over year. Questions? Okay, and then next is just the support, the AP support, the detail for each checks and everything that we cut this month. You know, if you have any questions.
So this is our new system.
Yes, ma'am, and I want to get, okay, so I had a help ticket to have units changed here, so let's say the city of Brandon, but we haven't got, and then I want them to put, I gotta figure out how to get the month on there. It's just all this little stuff, but it's like very technical. But we're getting there. I was so happy to have financials, you don't even know. I was sweating it. It was last night at 5 o'clock, we finally got it to clear.
I know it was worth sweating for it.
Oh, that's what I do. I just worry all the time, Billy. That's how. If I wasn't worrying, I don't know.
Any questions, comments, concerns on the financials? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck.
I think we have to have we don't have to accept the financials, do we? Do? Okay.
No, I just noted that it was presented.
Okay, that's what I thought. What I thought. He is on the agenda again.
Oh, you can't leave.
You were sweating there.
We almost got away. Almost got away.
What do we got?
Well, after this one, then next, it's
Wait, something else?
number 6.
Oh, booger, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I didn't look at the agenda. We have started working on the.
Hold on, we're not there yet. We're almost there. We're almost there.
I will wait.
Next item on the agenda is consideration of underwriter responses. Got Todd on there. Yes, we do.
Yes, good afternoon. I am here. So kind of the update there, we talked about this last month. We actually distributed the request for proposals on May 30th. And then last Thursday was the deadline for responses, and we received 4 responses, very detailed responses, a lot of information that we're going to be going through in the next few weeks. Proposals were received from Robert W. Baird, from UMB Bank, D.A. Davidson, and Stifel Nicholas were the 4 proposals that came in. Our plan is to come back to you at a subsequent meeting, maybe at the end of July, and we'll have recommendations and kind of an evaluation and summary of the 4 responses. So glad to answer any questions. Paul has been involved in the process as well, and is in receipt of all the responses.
Thanks, Todd. Anybody have any questions for Todd? All right, well, thank you, Todd. We'll look forward to next month, hopefully. Getting
Yes.
those. All right, thank you. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the 2025 fiscal budget discussion. This is nothing to jump on you. This is just an initial discussion for the board. It was brought up in our going through the review of what should we have on the agenda, and because we're about 6 months in, it's about time we should probably start looking at it. So,
Actually, this is a good time because we started our budget meetings this week.
Oh, great.
So I'm glad that you guys are actually thinking about it. We'll need to know the total that we're bonding. And then we will need to know the project cost and all that for next year. So I know that he just said at the end of July, we'll have estimates or.
Q's, and then Jeremy said August is gonna be probable costs.
Okay, so that's good because we plan to take it to the board late October, November. So that will still meet our timeline to get this.
Okay, great. Does anybody have anything that they want to add to the discussion in regards to the 2025 fiscal year?
Is
Mr.
it,
Mayor?
I don't know if this was the right time on the agenda. Have we discussed the 6.2 million that we're receiving from the state? Are we going to reduce our request for the bond amount?
I know that we had an initial discussion about that, just very brief discussion. I think we brought that up previously.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I haven't given it a whole lot of thought. I don't know what other board members have. I don't know that I would necessarily try to reduce anything because we know that we're going to continue to have additional costs associated with design for segment 4, segment 5, segment 6. We know that we've got something we'd like to do with 165. So in my opinion is I don't know that I would jump to decrease our costs. That's just me, one member of the board. So that's my opinion. I'd love to hear everybody else's as well.
Yeah, I was just, and I appreciate we need to have an abundance of cash on hand. I was looking at it where we're sitting on give or take 10 million. And I know we want to start the work in the next phases. I was just considering if we reduce the bond amount by 6 million, what would that trade-off be as far as interest cost on that versus what we're getting now? Just food for thought.
It's a great idea. I'd love to hear what those would be as well. The rest of the board for sure.
And just with the city, we're doing the same thing with the police station. And once you bond it, your interest starts for the whole thing, not as you pull the money, but at the beginning. So
Right.
it could be substantial. I mean,
Any other board members have any?
I really don't. I mean, I know that, Todd, I mean, said Baker Tilly, who was it supposed to, they were supposed to helping us to assess this kind of stuff.
Ben from Baker Tilly.
Yeah, Ben, yeah. And anyway, I guess I really, I don't know.
We can have Ben come to the next meeting.
He'd be trying to.
To address that.
Yeah,
Give us some.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the Milky Way
Yeah.
and see, is it,
That'd be great.
is it better than just.
I think, definitely give us some options and ideas
Yeah.
and things, of that nature. I think it'd be great.
And then by then we'll also know
If we actually got it, right?
Yeah,
If it was
because
signed.
the budget is not signed by the governor yet.
That's not-
Anything can happen.
Todd, do you have any comments on that?
I do. And I mean, in my mind, these are decisions that we can make much deeper into the bond issuance process. We don't even have hard construction numbers at this point. And so as that becomes available, I always contemplated that the financing size is fluid anyway. It could go up, it could go down based on actual project costs. So really we want to look at the totality of everything. And if we do believe that we'd like to put some available cash into this, we can certainly do that. The other part of this is a little bit different than a normal city borrowing because the only revenues that are available are those from the CID sales tax itself. So my mind is that it kind of behooves us to keep a fair amount of days cash on hand. And a little bit of this we discussed towards the end of last year when we kind of looked at the 6 million or the 6.2 million that Sherry just mentioned. You know, we were comfortable at that point of you drawing down your cash balance because we felt like you still had plenty of days cash on hand. But we'll, you know, long story short, we'll look at this again in the coming months. And, you know, this is something that can be decided you know, after the project's been bid and prior to when the actual bonds are being sold.
The second item on also was the varying utilities. There was nothing about varying utilities, which looked like could be a sizable amount.
Yeah, we'll have our,
The money that might be needed.
The varying of utilities wasn't in our.
Not in the 33, I don't believe.
not in 32.5.
But the utility companies will be charging us.
Yeah.
Everything forward to go underground is there.
Yeah.
What the original bid, the initial from Liberty was like 1 point.
Oh, yeah, 1.4. We're getting ready to get to that. We'll go back to it again.
But that's at a cost that you've got.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay, any other discussion on the 25 fiscal year budget discussion? I think that'll just be a consistent agenda item moving forward, and I'll try to keep it right underneath your last one, so you don't have to.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right.
I can walk past you this.
Bye, thank you.
All right, Michael, hand it over to you to go on to that utility relocation review and costs.
Fantastic. So Steve gave us a great segue into that. And at last time we had presented Liberty right at 1,365,771 for their cost to get underground or get to where they need to be to make their circuits. They had asked for a prepay of 409,731 to allow them to order items that they need ahead of time to match the timeline, and also take care of making sure that their engineering costs are covered because it's engineered outside of Great River, as you know from previous times. We also received White River. White River came in surprisingly a really close number, 1,132,100. They broke theirs out into phase 1 and phase 2. We had directed Journey's group to get a electrical engineer online and make sure that what they're asking for is what's actually there and not improvements to the system. As you know, a lot of that is buried itself or already off the poles, I guess would be the right way to say it. And I have some questions of and we were open with them of, is this new circuits and new designs? Because there were a lot of switches that were there that is beyond my knowledge and comprehension. So Journey is going to be working towards that to answer that question. But the important thing is that they have the separate agreement for $25,000 for design. What we're going to need to ask for is the blessing to move forward, that this board or the tax money that's there will prepay our items there as we finish negotiation of these agreements. So now it's to the point of, hey, is this exactly right for it? The other thing that's important to realize is it's very similar to how you guys set up segment 3 or how the group did, is that it's estimated cost and then it's billable. So it's billable by what they actually use and the actual time that's there. So it could be less. It's more of a doomsday, I would guess. But at the same time, with the markets being the way they are and the long lead times, it's important that we take this to the Board of Aldermen. The other utility companies, Brightspeed, Optimo, whatever they are today, those companies, like respectfully, they all showed up, had the interviews with Jeremy and myself, because it is a coordination between them all. The contract is with the city and the board here and separate of them, but she's done a nice job of pinning them down to get to there. Unfortunately, some of the companies,
they're not sure who's in control of making decisions and getting us our final numbers. Those will be significantly less. We only had one major hurdle where they all said, hey, we go across the road here, but the electric company doesn't. So Jeremy's going to work it back into the plan to provide conduit for them to get underneath the road to make their circuit smaller. So all in all, that helps us out. So I hope that by this next meeting, that I have those other pieces that are there. So with that being said, I guess the motion is the blessing to make sure that the 25,000, the 400,000, that the two different companies are asking for two different amounts, and now it's public. So one is White River is more trusting of us than Liberty is. And so they're just protecting their interest in there. If we can move forward with getting into a contract with them, once we get Jeremy's head nod that this is the right decision. But at the end, reminding yourself that when we still have the contract to take to our Board of Aldermen sometime in July. We cannot wait till August. So that
25 is with the design.
yeah.
River,
White River.
but the 400,000.
409 is design plus ordering materials ahead of time, and therefore foreseeing that. Yeah. I know I'm on the record, so I think one company just has a bigger stash of good stuff.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I'll need a motion and a second to approve us going forward with the contract to the Board of Aldermen.
So you're okay with it though?
I am. I mean, it's not to blink an eye at. I mean, Steve definitely made a great point. I mean, these two numbers together are roughly 2.5 million. It's $2,497,871, and we still got Optimum and Friends, right? That's what I don't even know how it is complicated. I'm like, and who are you today? And he's like, well, I was here a month ago. I'm like, but you're that other company.
Show me.
Yeah, and show me. So we're waiting for lower ones. They do have a cost, but not like this, not huge switch gear that's years and months away. And like, it's unbelievable. The lead time we were told on one of them, everyone was very progressive in saying, we're going to make a circuit that's going to work. So nothing's going to change. Very similar to what you did before, or we're going to borrow a circuit, not a circuit, a switch or a transformer switch gear from another group. We're going to steal it from something else. So if you realize it or not, they keep back gear on hand. So they take a risk when they put it in the service. So, but they said they're going to make it right like they did last time. So I know if you guys all probably know this too, they built the circuits and some of the circuits were running off back circuits till it's done. It's not stuff we really care about, but it's beautiful when it all goes under and away.
Those lead time are anywhere from a year
plus 18 months, and so yeah.
This project will turn on to say.
So
Yeah.
we should own one of those companies. It'd be really nice. When you can name your own price, and that's what they're saying. They're saying 300, 400, 500% increases because demand's there. So kind of like the car companies, sometimes demand drives cost.
It's interesting that the water was on 25 because they have, Scott Supply in the backyard where everybody's asking 400,000.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference.
Right.
Liberty is a smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think have all.
And they answer to different types, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Jeremy's still on. I'm not sure I agree with the 32.
Right, so this is a separate of this.
Yeah.
I think the CID will basically pay 32 million CID.
Yeah.
To include that. And so. But Jeremy's designing for utility companies outside of 32 million. That would be news to me.
And I thought that the 32 is the water, which is the
32 plus water.
The water.
32 plus water.
Water
And water was outside of that.
Yeah.
Jeremy, do you have any information on that at all?
So you're asking if the water budget was included?
No, we're asking if the undergrounding of the utilities was included in our original $32.5 million number.
The way that we put that in the budget was not necessarily for any of the design per se. We didn't include anything for the design that they might be asking for But the actual undergrounding, the material, the trenching and all of that was estimated in our original, in our original 32.5, yes.
This is like the wire and the switches.
Yeah, this is just wire and switches, not the
Right.
duct bank or anything affiliated with that.
Right. No, we didn't include that. We didn't include that primarily because we would have no way of, I have no way of knowing what those costs are technically.
I remember what you were saying, Gail, because at the time of originally, we said, we made a comment about how this was outside of the scope of section 3. And it was 1 point, however much, I think 1.8 is what we dedicated for it, even though we got money back. But I guess it didn't get thrown in there, sounds like what Gail's saying. But I mean, that's something we can figure out a little bit down the road as well. I don't think it's something that's gonna hold us up right now. But we definitely need to get to the bottom of that, from that aspect, we'll see what probable costs come in and so forth. All right, so you're looking for a motion to approve roughly $434,000 worth of contracts to go to the Board of Aldermen.
So, or approval that pay it back once we sign an agreement, so.
Right.
Like, because those draws will happen right away, so.
So moved.
Okay, got a first from Kathy,
Second.
Billy second. Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank
There you go.
For that, and we'll be back next month, so don't be shocked with hopefully the rest of them will get in line, so we're close, we need them in line, so. I'll wait for you, are you good?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's.
Universal easement negotiations, I would like to highlight this every month, so this is a reoccurring item, so everybody on the board is well aware of where the negotiations in part are. We have no intention of going specific landowners or their ask or their wants, but an overall view of the top. And if we need to go somewhere there, we'll use Ann as a go-between to talk to the owners. Some exciting news, of course, is that there was a researching aspect on the tracker. The couple of the board members have the ability to get on the tracker too. We now meet with them weekly. There are no more researching. And I was like, hey, where'd all the researching go? That means they made contact with somebody or got something back or certification that somebody received it. So that's very good. We originally had 2 easements signed. There was a little discrepancy on one, so they want to go back and make sure that it's exactly perfect. So they dropped it back to 1 of 49. The other thing that's super interesting is negotiation is at 87.76%. So that means they're talking back and forth and trying to get there. We have 3 easements that are literally in the mail or in carriers' hands for signing too. So super happy with their progress. It is a weekly event. Again, we ask that the board members and public and so on and so forth encourage everyone to be acceptance of what this great vision is going forward. And for the most part, we stayed in our right of way. There are some construction easements and things we needed, but we're open ears, but at the same time, it's not open asks. So we appreciate that. That's the exciting update for that. And as we get closer, I think towards the end, we'll narrow down the ones that we may need to do a little door knocking ourselves with Ann's expertise.
What was your goal to get this all completed?
Late August, so.
Because are we too far off? Are we making a good?
They are
progress?
super confident.
Okay, so the
Yes.
August is good, okay.
Now, with that being said, if somebody says, I'm just not gonna sign, that is not the failure of them.
Sure.
Of not, that they have done what they said. They've door knocked, they've met, without saying, I mean, the notes are there. I mean, they have to talk to people, so people should be talking. So, Yeah, of course, a lot of people still have questions and concerns or, hey, I didn't see this, or how will this affect my business, so on and so forth. And that's our job and our responsibility to answer them. And that's why we have the weekly meetings to make sure that Jeremy's group, if there's something that's off a little bit or needs to be adjusted a little bit. So Dutton's is a great example. I'm comfortable with Sheila coming here many times and we got to a good place with them. So we're excited to see them hopefully signing very soon.
Michael, I am very pleased to hear. That's always been my number one concern as far as timing. And hear what you're saying, boy, that sure feels good.
Yeah, it feels good. And there are some people on the fence, so hopefully they see the benefit to their land that's there. What the city did ask if there were real estate agreements that were around there. There were some people that were worried, hey, we're in negotiations with that agreement, that if the signing or it was already there, that they let the next person know. Also in terms of real estate, we asked that the property owner that has it now is not saying, well, in the future, somebody might offer to me and I really don't want to sign it now. We asked them to reconsider that and look at the greater good.
And just FYI for this board, last night's board meeting, the board approved me to sign all the easements for city properties.
Yeah, fantastic.
I know that, just based on our previous discussion prior there, like Michael said, there are a couple that are on the fence. So if any of us have the ability to help encourage, it would be beneficial. I don't know if it'd be beneficial for the board to get a list of those that potentially are on the fence to help with that. Or what do you think on that aspect?
I would say let's.
I know sending Ann out is huge because she's done a great job historically with this, but I just.
And we have Universal has a direct line to you. Anytime we feel that Ann's interjection would be appropriate as a hand from your board, we just say, go ahead. And they've reached out a couple times, I believe. So.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. And the July
Yeah,
meeting.
and if I need help, I'll be calling you.
Yeah, I'm sure. In the July meeting, I think it'd be great if we could provide a list that, if possible, that reflects who signed, who hasn't signed. I know if it's legally.
I'm not sure.
Able to, I know that we used to do it.
Holly, can I do that in an open thing, create a list of people that have signed our easements and people that have not for public record?
Yeah, it's
What do
not
you think?
confidential. It's not,
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. We would accept those. You're meaning creating your own list.
Off of Universals, yeah. So like.
Yeah, I mean.
I would be saying track 23 is negotiating and signed out for them, track but I can't name the individual, right? I don't know. We can talk offline and I'll make sure it's appropriate when we.
Yeah, I just think it would be beneficial for the board to be able to see,
Especially if you need some help.
Sure.
Yeah,
So we have
well,
whoever
that's-
help.
That's what
And since the majority, the assumption is the majority will sign off, we could
Mhm.
create, and maybe that's what you want to show is who did sign. But you could create it just as the ones who have not yet signed, just set whatever perimeter you want the report to be.
I think it would be beneficial.
I mean, we're talking about July and August, and if it makes four, I mean, basically, if you really want some kind of help from us, what do we need to do? Yeah. And I don't know what that is also, because there's probably an appropriate thing we can say, do also, that's the other thing.
No.
I mean, we can, I think there's a legality in terms of the instruction, what we can say, because you may already have something that,
I would love somebody to spend millions of dollars in front of my property. So if my city decides to do it, I'll be the first one. I'll be at City Hall signing.
The other side of that, though, there was a few that, like changing entrances and things like that. So even though you want to be good for all, if somebody feels like it's gonna personally negatively affect their business.
That's where the cautious part is.
That's right. I mean, any one of us would do the same.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Thank you for that item. Good.
Well, thank you for the good work.
Yeah, it's just exciting. I love this company. They're awesome. You guys got to see it, so. Discuss next steps and funding approval of 165 and 76 intersection design. Also, we're working through with MoDOT, making sure that environmental compliance is there, working really hard, multiple emails, multiple meetings with them. Making sure that as we do get this funding, that no one can say you can't accept the funding, because that would put us behind. So we're super comfortable with that. CJW contract, as I brought up before, is for 165 and 76, which is where the Titanic is. There's going to be a gateway there of some type, and from the master plan said do something with the signal. So when we put out the RFQ and CJW was chosen for that, they reached out to the same partners that the other groups have used, and the WOW concept renderings for you all to take a look at was baselined out, so we could say, hey, we need to do this or no, we don't. Came to $21,500, and then the engineering going forward on one that you would pick was estimated at $44,270 for a total amount of $65,770, and that's just design fees. What I'm also asking for today, and that is the agreement that part is finishing segment 3 and also tying segment 2 together that was left behind. I think it's appropriate for this board to agree to pay for sidewalks, duck bank, landscape, roadway improvements, and the bed asphalt for that. The city of Branson has funded the intersection with MoDOT's cooperation, and we are paying for the actual planning of it without the WOW concept in the engineering for the WOW, and this for the signal and the plans. So we feel like that's the part we gave in. We also have a little bit of water line that Kendall's going to take care of through the utility part of there to finish up. That wasn't done. So this is kind of the segment that's near Ruby Tuesdays and the turn lane that's there. And ultimately it serves everyone, including MoDOT on there, and the MoDOT money is a blessing there too, but not a guaranteed money until we get through all the compliance and make sure that they allocated the money correctly. With that being said, the ask is for approval for money from you all, or the ability to spend the money for the design for $65,770, and the agreement that you would pay for the improvements around this intersection that relate to sidewalks, duck bank, landscape, roadbed improvements, and asphalt.
Can I ask a question? And then it's CJW, but since for the design, the 44 and the
21,500.
their scope of work actually, how much, is that it? Is there more?
Oh, no, that they have a scope
No,
of,
but I'm talking about the design.
yeah, so they designed the whole intersection,
That's
so.
like a million something, right?
176,794 plus the 44,270, so 221,000.
So this part here that you're asking us to approve, is it working with the creative side? I don't know.
That's correct. It's just straight creative. So it's the WOW, the renderings that they will present. In the RFQ, we asked them to present 3 versions of that to you to get the head nod. So the ability to do something on Walgreens corner there, and ability to do something with the stoplight is what the creative side.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you need a motion?
A motion in a second.
I made a motion to go ahead with the request.
For the 66 or 65.
67.
65,770, 66 would be great.
$60,000.
I'll second.
First by Billy, a second by Mayor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And then can I get the motion in the second that once the cost for the sidewalks, duck bank, landscape is the responsibility of this board to pay? So if we get that out to construction at the same time, that would be paid.
And that would be the same as what we would do within any other segment, right?
Correct. The same responsibilities.
Same responsibility.
I
It's
want the
just
commitment.
finishing up segment 3.
3 to connect to 2.
Sounds like we're wiping out that 6.2 million pretty quick. I don't know. It's not that way.
Good point, John.
So, is that something that we can do today, Paul? Is it considered on the agenda? I'm just asking Paul for clarification on that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really have enough data information to write the motion out right now. I don't fully understand it.
Basically what Michael's asking for is that the CID board would be financially responsible for the improvements to finish off segment 3, to tie segment 3 into segment 2 on the project.
And that was the design fees of the 65,000, correct?
That design fee is in regards to the wow factor and the intersection of Gretna 165 and 76.
Right, and so,
The
you know,
city's
kind of
gonna
consistent with Holly's statement earlier, just looking at the agenda, you know, discuss the next steps in funding for the approval of the intersection design. I think the 65,000 is within that. I
Right.
didn't really understand what the second motion would relate to. Is that
The second-
separate from design?
Yes.
Yes, the
It's
second
a-
motion is
It's for
construction.
It's project cost. It's the actual construction cost. That's why I was asking, because I don't think it falls within. I think we'll have to bring it back in July.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree with you, Chuck, that, you know, just strictly applying the agenda, it's design. I would also say going forward, if there are expenditure, if there are going to be asks for expenditure of money embedded in these worded agenda items, if those could be provided ahead of time so we can reduce them to writing instead of trying to kind of capture what we're doing now. Because otherwise I could have worded the agenda a little bit differently.
Agreed.
And I will, just so it's a public record, I won't have a dollar amount for construction. It's just saying the same thing as you're doing today as a cleanup to say that you're authorizing the segment to finish.
Right. No, I understand that. You're asking for a commitment to finish it is what you're basically saying. Now, we would be financially responsible, but we can't, we can't put it as a vote.
Right, and I can't put it as a dollar either.
Well, and I understand that, and we can write a motion for the July that, you know, the board is, you know, willing to accept the commitment for this with the, you know, contingent based on costs or something like that, right? Yep. So, so we'll make sure that's on the agenda for July, if you don't mind, Paul.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for all those items. I appreciate it.
All right, Ann, are we gonna hand it over to you now?
I think you are. And I need to be able to share my screen, please, Paul. Am I sharing? Am I ready? Can I? Do something here.
Yeah, I got, should step out there and share.
Choose one. Oh,
Sure.
I now sure, gotcha. Sorry. Have this. Okay, so today I get to show you the 76 Entertainment District website in its current state. We've been working the last couple of months to pull this together, and it is not live yet, but it could go live as soon as July 1, based on your feedback and what you see today, if you like it or if you don't. So we've kept it pretty simple. A short little looped video makes it seem a little more exciting. I didn't want this to be a boring governmental website. There's just 5 pages you see across the top, the homepage, a news page, background, leadership, and connect. So on the homepage, oops, I'm on the wrong page here, sorry. On the homepage. It's changed on my screen, but not there. How much? Oh, there we go. Okay, just a little slower. There will be a basic explanation of the district. Wow, there's really, okay, there it goes. That's really a lag. And that explains what the 76 Community Improvement District is about and provides a quick link to all of our e-newsletters. There's a couple of placeholders here still, but these will, the ones that are loaded already are e-newsletters that have gone out to our constituents recently. So that's basically the homepage. The next page is news. So those are our newsletters, and we'll continue to list here with the newest news on top, the oldest news towards the bottom. That helps our searchability and for people to understand that this is a current, up-to-date website always. And that we're interested in them knowing our news and what's going on with the district. I figured that was one of the most important functions of this website. But we also took a page to provide some background. And here there's a history tab in that will just provide the whole timeline of the project dating back to March of 2012 that they can follow through. There's a segment here for visuals so that they can locate those historical visuals, of course, and what those that are approved here throughout this tab. And then in the news will be a place where when we get media coverage from outside interests, that's positive. We only put here what we want to put here. But any good news stories will come up here with links to, KLR 10, the Springfield Business Journal, Tri-Lakes News, whatever. So folks can see how the district has been covered in the news. Then we'll have a segment that explains the leadership of the CID, and you'll see some familiar faces here, some of which haven't had their headshots taken in quite a while. Check her day.
That's what.
Wow. I would not recognize you. Wow.
But yeah, you are all listed here because a couple of months ago I asked for your beautiful photos and also your terms of office, et cetera, are provided. Then what's next is our board meeting schedule for the year. So if you were to click on January, you'd have a choice of looking at that agenda, the minutes from that meeting, and link to the recording of that meeting. Come down here to April. And you'll see all three, sorry. In May was the one, well, the recording will take you to that recording. Those are all loaded. I gotta look here instead on the screen because it jumps around so much. Oh, sorry, what did I do? Did I lose it completely?
Yeah, I think you closed out the website.
No, I did, sorry. I can probably get back to it fairly quickly. Sorry. And I busted my glasses while I was messing around, so that's gonna make this even trickier.
Don't put yourself.
It's not very far back.
The close up of Ann.
Yeah, I'm gonna love this in the meeting notes too. No, that was the wrong one. Sorry, where's my link? Here. I sent it to Cheryl.
Yeah,
I know it's here. There it is. Sorry. So where was I? I was in leadership, right? And I can't look up there and click because it moves so slow.
I just closed it.
Well, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll explain the rest. Under the leadership tab, there's the meetings, and as soon as the meeting minutes are approved, those will appear with the meeting. Whenever the recording's available, that appears there, or just the agenda, and that will load for the whole year as soon as those things are available. And then the last tab is Connect. So in that tab, you can choose to be a stakeholder. So businesses, business interests in the district will be able to click on certain information. Let me just look what that is, so I tell you for sure. Well, the page is really designed for the stakeholders because that's what the site's designed for. So if they have a property, operate a business, or want to participate in some way, they can get information on contacting us and signing up for our e-newsletter. If they're a visitor, we take them to the Explore Branson site. And if they're media, then I'm listed there as a contact if they want to do a story. So that's it. It's pretty simple, pretty basic, but I think all of our information's there and it's going to be easily updated with meeting data as well as news that comes out of the CID.
So, and is on the schedule, does it also show like where we're at now? We're planning on going to bid on certain,
No, I have not put a construction schedule in there yet. It just seemed like it was a little bit fluid and I wasn't sure you really wanted it public quite yet. I think it's probably safer just as those things are definitely finalized, that they're part of the e-newsletter that goes out and then.
That's probably from past experience.
I've had to update that timeline many times.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm very impressed.
Oh, good.
I love what you did. Simplicity, the amount of information, the engagement, spot on.
Okay, great. I will send all of you a link and let you look at it in more detail, read, and anything you find. When I sent it to Cheryl earlier today, she said, something doesn't look right here. The more eyeballs, the better. Just shoot that back to me. Even if we go live July 1, obviously, websites are always works in progress and can continue to evolve and improve. So any suggestions are very welcome, but we'll actually have a website on July 1, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it looks like German across the board.
Yeah, it was that lorem ipsum type that people put in for filler. I'm like, no, that's not a foreign language, Cheryl. That's just a placeholder because Ann hasn't written all the captions yet.
Yeah, I think it's fabulous too. And in fact, I would love it if you'd give a lot of input, if you're not already doing that, to Explore Branson, right? On their site too. Because sometimes so much simpler is so much better. So I love what you did. The only thing that I saw that kind of jumped out at me, and maybe it's this screen, so it might not be like this on a monitor, is that brightness of that blue with the orange together. Took a second, like, or maybe it's my old eyes, like, to be able, it was a little bit harder on the eye, right? And I don't know if a different shade of blue might lessen that a little bit, but the contrast between the two is a little jarring.
Yes.
It's jarring. Yes, that's the word I'm
Okay.
looking for.
Yeah, we'll look at adjusting those a
Again,
little
and it
bit.
might just be me.
We were going for bright and fun, but
It's really-
it
yeah.
could,
Too bright, too fun. Let's get to the government.
Government boring is where I should be heading. No, this is an entertainment district. It needs to look exciting. Okay, I will send you those links and please send me feedback. I welcome it.
Looks great.
Any other comments? Great, thanks, Andy. Looks fantastic.
Thanks.
Last item, introduction of any new business. The only thing I had noted was I got a message from Paul letting us know that the recordings that he saves are about to expire. Just want to make sure that we have those backed up somewhere.
We have those on our City of Branson YouTube page.
I just want to make sure that we have them backed up since they're
Because they stay there.
they're minutes.
We have a mention.
Is that what Ian's gonna be connected?
Yes, that is what
Yeah.
I connect to.
On this, on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's why we saw it.
Yeah.
So,
I have a new business,
Sure.
actually it's kind of an old business, I'm bringing it back up. At what stage, the last thing we want to do is to put any hurdles with what we're currently working on. But I'd sure like to see our board agree that as we start the construction on 1 and 2, for us to consider what wows would be put in segment 3 to align more with the wows we're putting in 1 and 2. It sounds like Sounds like the wows in one and two, should be 1 and 2 is gonna exceed what we've done in 3. And if that's the case, it would be great to have 1, 2, and 3.
Equally wow.
Congruent, yeah.
That's a great topic. Thoughts from anybody on that?
What's that?
It's all about the money, I think, right?
Well, we got $1 million left to be 6.2.
Well, we need that million to sign to start to sign a 4. Yeah, you know, that's a great question. It's something we definitely need to start thinking about. Does anybody else have any thoughts? I mean, I think section 3 has a number of wows already in it. You know, it may have been done by, you know, existing, you know, whether it's, you know, you look at the Wax Museum, for example, I consider that to be a wow area. There's the airplane, the car, and the fountain that's there, so. You know, and then,
Yeah, I would just, a couple items, the light poles, for example.
The new light poles that are going in, that's something we talked about. They would just switch going now.
yeah,
That's a pretty easy one from that. I know you guys are gonna, Ann's gonna really appreciate the benches that are coming along there. We have a bench in front of Presley's that is the ugliest bench in the world. People still sit on it, but there are small things like that that I think could be improved along that process. I agree with you. You guys, through many businesses have done some really nice things through there. I think it's just kind of the aesthetics of things that might be able to add to that point. And the light poles, for example, for sure, because if you're gonna do Christmas decorations out through there, you need it to be consistent all the way down.
well, absolutely that, and the crosswalks as well. If you're updating a crosswalk, that's gonna bring that in line, because we'll update it with a similar crosswalk section, so that'll help with that as well.
And just to be clear, my only input on this is what I've heard from Clay Cooper.
Mhm.
And I've heard it from him several times, that if I'm communicating his message correctly, what he was initially shown was going to be some wow package. At the end of the day, he ended up with a bench and a something where he thought he was gonna have and I don't know what those buffs are.
Well, I'd love to know what the buffs are and just find the design for that as well, just
Yeah,
to see,
so-
it'd be great to be able to, and
I think they were looking at Western theme.
Yep.
I mean, but part of the original conversation was, if that theater didn't say a Western theme, it makes sense to tie in a Western theme to that. So the decision was making it a little more generic, not so specific to each business from that.
Well,
And that was CFS, I believe. on the
Yeah,
original.
it's a different design.
and the wows, like, for example, the wows in front of the Wax Museum, we paid for a lot of that stuff. Like, us as a company paid for it. It wasn't the CID that paid for that. The only thing the CID built was the fountain. We provided the Oscar, we provided the airplane, we provided the car, we relocated the sign, we threw an extra $40,000 in for the landscaping. So, I mean, that wasn't the CID that did that, that was Caveira that did that on their own.
So maybe for informational purpose, if we could be, this board could be shown what the CID portion of the wows were.
Mhm.
Because I know businesses kicked in.
Yeah.
But if we could see what the wows that the CID paid for in segment 3. And then compare that with what we're gonna be putting in 1 and 2, and just see if there's little things we could adopt, so it's just more of a. Well,
Or at least tie it into better together.
Yeah, I think for consistency's sake, it makes sense
You have
to,
to.
yeah, have the current design firm, do a look at that and what would that cost and how could that be incorporated into segment 2?
And
The
yet, that's,
crosswalk would be a real example if that was able to do
Yeah,
that, because the
absolutely.
design changed completely on the crosswalks. If those were able to be redone for a safety factor for one, but also to get consistency of look of
That's a
the
good point.
offset of what those crosswalks are. My hope is we're gonna see a major change in how people use crosswalks in segments 1 and 2, and especially from the safety side of it. I mean, it's
Great input, you bet.
Another thing, just to let you know, it's kind of hard when you see a thing that in drawing. But when in real life, it actually is not as right you think it is. So what you gotta do, you gotta be careful, you gotta pick and choose your better, when you do this kind of stuff. And also, there's a kind of consistency, like a ribbon, that it was, they're trying to do in segment 1 and 2. Those are the things that make sense to go maybe interject at the 3. Because some of those rustic, banding or whatever, they can blend in and out, it might not make sense. Because the theming is so different at segment 3.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, those are big stuff. When you get built, it's not the same as what you think it's.
Yeah.
So what you see in the drawing would be wow. But in real life, is that what it looked like? It's, you know, I think that's a big, I think that's something that you can probably, that's a good point that you need to think about it.
Yeah.
Because those are kind of stuff, can we start thinking about what we can do? And then, but I'm gonna tell you, the thing that I saw that in all the proposal is just a very interesting thing. In real life, someone who's gonna know how to do colors and be able to project manage this thing in a way to execute art directing is important.
Yeah.
And so once if they can execute that, makes sense, go to the 3 and say, okay, I saw this and it looks great. And it's this kind of stuff, but
That's interesting. So what Billy's sharing with us is as we're making decisions based on the visuals, lower your expectations.
Yeah,
That's exactly what he said.
yeah, you have to.
So Chuck, if we put this on next month's agenda and address this, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Paul, can you
you gotta open.
put that on for next month?
You got it.
Design first.
You gotta open construction. I mean, it could be a hugely
See
relevant
what it's
discussion.
Any other new business or topics of discussion?
Jeremy asked me to share with you an exciting development. It's FAA clearance was for the light poles. That's kind of fun. That's one of the big hurdles for her to get through. So,
FAA.
yep.
Nice.
So, yeah, the helicopters and being built above. She got all that through. So it's exciting and I just wanted to share it with you.
I just have one comment as far as, the city taking over the maintenance of that is a real benefit for the rest of the strip. Sharon and her crew, they're doing 76 all the way down through there, picking up trash. I see them all the way, where before they were limited to the SID district, current SID district.
Yeah.
And so they're, all the way down, I saw them a couple days ago, which I think is a real benefit to everyone. So that's a real plus coming out of the city taking over that maintenance as the original agreement was in place. So.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, I just sit in my office and I see them driving by and
You didn't see it before, did you?
oh, yeah, driving by spraying and doing all so it's great. It really is great. Anything else? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, state it by standing up and leaving. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Chuck,
You know,
with your permission,